evening, everyone. Welcome to Demystifying Gay Porn. My name is Ike Grande, and if you watch gay porn, I've definitely helped you get off. Welcome to a special summer series. I'm going to do a total of 5 for this season. The season's over. However, there are a couple of things I just needed to get in that weren't made possible, unfortunately, through timing or guests not being available. And this is one of those episodes. Today, we're going to be talking about sides, or the position side. Everybody knows what a top is, everybody knows what a bottom is, and people are starting to recognize and learn what a side is. So my guest today goes by the name of Otter Zaddy. He is a gay man in a relationship, and he just happens to be a side, and he is here. He's made himself available to explain to me and explain to other people who might not know what this position is. I was going to say new, but as he reminded me, it's not new. It's been around. It's been around for a long time. So please help me welcome Otter Zaddy. How are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Like I said, I absolutely mean it. Thank you so much for doing this. Sometimes reaching out to people, actually, no, you've done a couple things, but reaching out to some people that you don't know, you never know what's going to happen.
You know what? But isn't that life?
Yeah.
You just got to say, we're going to see what happens. It's a good decision or a bad decision. But I could tell when I heard you on the phone, I was like, no, I can be open with this guy.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, if there's anything I've been called, it's persistent, and I absolutely, as a compliment, never negatively, hopefully. But yeah, I know I was bothering you while you were on vacation, and I knew that you were on vacation, but I was like, oh, I really want to nail this one. I want to get this one down. So yeah, so thank you for being here today. I read a couple of articles because a couple of things have just come up recently. There was also a Vice video that went up. I have a general definition of what a side is. They find. I'm sorry. Go on. Yeah. You know what? Why don't you do that? Tell me. Can you explain to us what a side is?
All right. So side is everything sexually, including the fetishes and whatever else, except for penis in the anus, or anus full of penis. Like, other than that, all the other behaviors that most people do anyways are side behaviors. Some sides tend to not like the anal penetration. That's it. So it's really not a position as much as it's just one less activity that everyone else is doing anyways.
The way they've been, I don't want to say marketing it, but the way it's been introduced is as a sexual position, but I didn't really think about it that way. Yeah. So if it's everything except anal sex.
Yeah. And so, when it was first coined, 2013 or whatever, not by me, the whole concept was, this is when all the apps and everything was coming out, and people had to find a way. They never had to before. You didn't have to find a way to define yourself necessarily in order, as part of your marketing, to find a date or a hookup. So, people like myself who really don't like anal sex in and of itself as an activity. Am I a top? No, not accurately. Am I a bottom? Not accurately. We usually would say like verse, but even that's not accurate, because that means you want anal sex both ways. There wasn't a way for us to define everything but.
Now, how did you get here?
Honestly, over the years, I have had 3 long-term relationships with men. I've been out since 1993. So I was 18, and then I had 3 long relationships. And in each of those relationships, what I noticed over time was that as a couple, we defined what our sex was and what we wanted to do, and that was kind of individual for each relationship. And I found myself trying to bottom sometimes, or bottoming, also topping, and not really liking either one of them, but thinking that was what was required. That's what gay sex is. So I have to pick one of these two. I didn't particularly like it, much like I didn't particularly like females either, but I did it because I was horny. You know what I mean? So it's like, you just kind of do it. And then over time, though, I got in my I was married to a man, and we were together for about 10 years, and he and I just settled on the fact that he didn't he didn't like to top or bottom. I didn't like to top or bottom, so we did everything else. And over time, especially when we unfortunately broke up, I went back onto, the apps looking for hookups, and I didn't know how to define myself because I didn't really want to top and I didn't really want to bottom. So I ended up just choosing top because side wasn't a distinct option. And unfortunately in the gay male society, almost everyone defines themselves as either top, bottom, or verse, which means both, as you know, but there isn't one for either. So that's what it should be: top, bottom, both, or neither. That should be what the role should be, because that makes a little more sense.
When you say you chose, in those situations, you chose top, was there a specific reason why you chose top?
Well, I mean, there was a couple. I mean, I'm a little old school, so even back when I was quite a bit younger, I chose top because of the idea that it would be slightly more safe in a sexual relationship with the venereal diseases and HIV and all that.
Okay.
Kind of leaned that way anyways, but struggled with it because it wasn't my jam. Couldn't, it's not like I could just, can't wait till I can stick it in tomorrow. I just didn't have that kind of urge.
Yeah.
But
so
you better believe I had an urge to put my dick in a guy's mouth. That's my urge. That's what I like. So that's the oral part of side, and that's the majority of it anyways.
Okay. So it's really big on oral for you, what it means to be a side.
Yeah. Oral and like mutual jack off and stuff like that. Yeah. The things. So, I mean, there's plenty of getting off, and it's just like, instead of, you get together with somebody, you kiss a little bit, and then you do a little oral, and then you go to anal. You just stay at the oral until you both come. There you go. You just had a side experience.
Okay. I've had various side experiences then.
Everybody has.
Yeah.
It's like I think everyone's been and gone on a date or a hookup or whatever and been like, oh, you know what? 2 blowjobs, that was perfect for tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's what it is, really.
I guess because of the way it sounds and the way it's been I hate to say marketed, but it really has been. As of like the last 3 months, I've seen nothing but, when it comes to when I'm looking up stuff, it's like, oh, make way for sides. It's a new sexual position. So it's in my head. I'm a very visual person, so I just see 2 people lying next to each other. I know it's more than that. I absolutely do. But yeah, I've absolutely had side experiences.
I think almost everybody has. That's why it's. I think the big deal for defining it of late is because a lot of sides will not have anal sex. Period. They're not going to top, and they're not going to bottom. Period. Like, that's their cutoff. That's their safe word. No anal. So because of that, that can be very difficult for, when you're trying to hook up with somebody and you don't want to disappoint them because they're hot, but they want you to top them and you don't feel like doing that. So you have to say, oh, I guess we're not compatible. So guys were looking for a reason, a way to define, can we just do all the other stuff, please? That's what I want. That kind of thing.
When you were out of your relationship and you were back on the dating apps when you were on the dating apps in the early 2010s, when you asked somebody, or did you ever come out and say to somebody, hey, look, I'm not into anal, I'm not this, and if you did, how did they respond to you?
That's a great question. So years ago, like 10 years ago or so, it wasn't that big. It was a little bit less of a big deal because, at least for me, my kind of personal limit was I needed to know you before I was going to do penetrative sex anyways. So I always had a couple dates in to decide whether I was going to have that conversation with them or not, because I just didn't that's not how I trick. I only trick, I don't trick at the anal level, if you will. It's an old term. People are like, what the heck does trick mean? I'm like, oh,
I love that.
Killing me. So I didn't have that much of an issue. Now, a couple of years ago, when I was finished with my marriage and now back on the dating apps, I chose to take I hate to say it this way, but this is how it feels for a side, the least of two evils, which was, okay, I'll top. And part of it was the safety thing too. And I don't particularly like bottoming, and I definitely don't like doing it for someone I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm weird like that anyways. So it's like it's not a thing I'm going to gravitate to with a hookup or a trick anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But so I didn't really have to have that conversation so much, but would notice when I would get together with these guys, most of them were perfectly happy to get a blowjob. That was good enough. Like, they didn't have to go all the way anal. So I was like, well, why do I even have to say that I'm a side? Because I'm a little weird about putting that down on a dating app.
Would you do it now that there's, if you were, wait, are you on dating apps now?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
No. But it was pretty recent,
Yeah.
like 8 months ago or so I was. So.
Okay. And that's before, I think, Grindr put it on officially as one of their positions.
Yeah, for me, I would actually I would put it on depending on what I was looking for. See, I'm a little different. That's why I was weird when you asked me to talk about being a side, because I don't know if I'm as traditional of a side as some people are, because I have engaged. Some people are like, Gold Star gays. They've never China. There's Gold Star sides.
Gold Star sides.
Guys who've never had any anal sex at all.
Okay.
Top or there's definitely, and I don't think we call them that. We can make it.
You're coining it today.
If you want to make it famous, I'm good with it. But yeah,
it's yours now.
Really, really anti-anal at all. They've never done it. They're not going to do it. That side designation in the dating apps, I think, is best for them, because that can be a big go no go for dating someone, especially for a long-term relationship. If you've got this great guy that you're falling in love with and he wants you to fuck him and you don't want to do it, that could be a problem. It's better to have those conversations up front. I don't know if I answered your question.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And that it's leading to another question, because you are talking about being in a relationship. You're in a relationship now. Were you able to be upfront in this relationship almost immediately?
Yeah. We're not 100% sides in my current relationship.
Okay.
But our favorite thing to do is my dick is in his mouth and he's jerking himself off.
Okay.
And that's our go-to position. He loves it. I love it. It's completely side. And so we do that a lot of the time. But we tend to gravitate towards that type of position where one of us is getting sucked and the other one's jerking themselves off, or also getting sucked off. And that's good. I mean, that's like the perfect orgasm. We really enjoy it. Lean towards what works, I guess, is the way it works best for us. So I didn't have to say yes or no to anything. We just kind of, as the relationship grew, we just tried a bunch of different things. Of course, we don't just have the same sex, same way every single time, because but you can, after a while, you can start seeing patterns of okay, what do we gravitate towards? And we tend to gravitate towards the side activities.
Holy crap. That's really cool. And it's really making me question a lot of things that are in my sexual practice. Actually, with my boyfriend, he has, and this is why I kind of, and just to give a little backstory to listeners, I joined a group called Sides on Facebook, and you're a member of Sides, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I joined it because I found it, I read the description and I found it very interesting. One of the parts that I found interesting was that no penetrative sex. And we do have anal, but a lot of times my boyfriend has a very heavy foot fetish. He loves feet, so I got to keep him nice and pretty and all that fun stuff. And I love ass. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a big ass eater. So that's how, he's content with me throwing my feet on top of him while he's jerking off, and I'm content with him putting his ass in my face and jerking off. And we call it a day sometimes like that.
like I said right from the beginning, was everybody's already doing side stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a place where you stop. And so you just gave a perfect example. That's, if you were on Grindr and you saw someone say side and their answer was, I want to suck your feet while whatever, fuck yeah, that's great. I'll go on a date with that guy.
Yeah.
That's why people like to distinguish that. So they're not expecting to get pounded.
Now that we've covered that, what are common misconceptions that you hear about sides?
Probably one of the biggest one is the literally having sex side by side, which
I'm guilty of.
Is I mean, in most positions you're side by side, vertical or horizontal or whatever, but that's a big one. It's just people playing on the word side,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other one is that they somehow have failed as a gay man. They're not good enough to be a top, and they don't know how to take care of themselves well enough to be a bottom. As if those are the only two things to aspire towards. Those are the big ones. The big ones is like somehow because we don't top or bottom, something's wrong with us, we're broken, or we're not good enough. We hear that a lot. And you'll hear that in that Facebook group. People talk about that a lot. And then also people who take it too literal. If they see non-penetrative sex, they just means that you can't they're thinking you're not putting your dick in the mouth or anything like that.
Mm.
Just anal. So people sometimes take that too literally. Oh, it's not, well, if you put the dick in the mouth, that's penetrative sex. Okay. Okay.
They're getting too technical there.
Yeah. And so sometimes you hear those kind of dumb things. But yeah, that's the big one is that, you're not man enough to top or you're not lady enough to bottom or whatever the case may be. We tend to hear that a lot.
I was going to ask you, because you did mention a little bit of, well, we both did, but the Facebook group. Can you tell me a little bit about the side community? Do you keep regular contact, or do you have friends that are sides?
I do, but not necessarily through that group. That group, I think, could certainly grow into that kind of community situation, but I don't think it's quite. People haven't identified themselves quite enough yet for that. So right now, that group is really great about asking questions. It's not. There's a lot of Facebook groups with gay men over their 40s. There's 1,000 of them, mm-hmm. and under that age too. Just guys asking random questions about life. But in that group particularly, what they discourage, and understandably, is they don't want you to go in there and be like, oh, I was fucking my boyfriend and my dick bent and I don't know what I need to do, because it's not really, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about anything else, fine. And I got in trouble, not even in trouble, but I got gently warned one time because I was talking about some of my historic topping behavior as part of my question, but people jumped down my throat.
Yeah.
They're like, no, that's blah, 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 blah. But Dr. Court and the other guy said, no, you know what? His question was just fine. So there was a little bit of that at first when we really first, I mean, the group has like 15, 20 times grown in the last couple months in the number of people. It's really exponential, which is pretty great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And it's very well monitored, let's say. It's very they're really good, because I think I went in there and I asked a question because I wanted to do a podcast a couple months ago. And almost immediately I got a message. Somebody slid into my DMs, let's say, and asked me what position I was. And I said what position I was. And they were like, well, you can't be in the group. And I was like, oh, but I just want to learn. So I get it. I'm not, it hurt a little bit. I'm not going to lie, but yeah, I think that it opened this conversation up first and foremost, but also made me think, oh wow, like I really do have side tendencies. Do you think and I'm going to ask you this question just blatantly. Do you think that like a group like that should remain just within the sides at this moment? Or do you think that a group should open up so that way other people can learn a little more from the side community?
That's a great question, and I have a answer for that. I think that there are so many groups on Facebook that creating a group called Sides, a Q&A or whatever that's open to everyone is a great idea. But I also think that people for example, I'm not going to be personally jumping into a water sports group and, boo-pooing and that's gross and all that kind of stuff, because that's their community. They can do their thing. I can choose not to belong to it. I think the education part's smart, but I think that could be handled by a separate group, and it's okay to have singleness of purpose in one group.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's a great answer. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I do hope somebody does create a side community Q&A group, because I would join it. I'm particularly a big fan of, like you say, I'm also a member of Gay Men Over 40, and the questions I see sometimes are really, really good. A lot of times you get a lot of guys that just want, like, they post some thirst traps. And I get it. You're in your 40s and you look amazing, but I do enjoy the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I know at least for the Sides group particularly, it's very well monitored. Like, even when that controversy, I mean, it's a Facebook group. It's like having a Twitter fight, whatever. Controversy. When I started talking about the top and bottom stuff, the moderators came in privately to me and said, "Hey, so we're thinking about," like, they engaged me. It wasn't like Facebook, because they don't want Facebook to get involved. It's like literally run by doctor of sex therapy, Dr. Joe Court. And so, like, he's part of the monitoring people too. So it's a really good group for people. I think anybody should be able to join, but there may need to be a special place just for Sides to talk about very specific side stuff. But
yeah, it might have to grow a little more within itself, I guess, and then eventually open.
It's got growing pains right now.
It's what?
It's got growing pains right now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's growing really fast, which is great. It's great because that means the conversation is opening up, and like you said, Grindr added a preference for side, and Vice did an article. There's been a couple others, and I see them because the other guys are sharing them in the group. They're like, "Oh, look what I found! Look what I found!" So it's nice that the conversation is getting out there. I don't even know if it needs to be a conversation for me personally, because but if you're trying to date, it's important. Single guys want to know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah, and a couple of my good friends are also in their 40s, and I remember one of them in particular telling me how bottoming is for kids. No, not for kids, but I say kids like people in their 20s. He's like, I can't do that anymore. He's like, it's too much work, it's too much this. I basically just suck dick and that's it. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it might be growing in that. It really is a lot of work. I also, when somebody contacted me just yesterday about Sides, they were curious to know how I feel about it as a gay porn producer. And I don't know if I could answer that question at the moment. I mean, there's always a foreplay that would be considered side work, if anything, but there's never, it always inevitably leads to penetration unless you're just doing suck scenes or, well, that would be it. Suck scenes and then just other fetishes and stuff. But as for mainstream or mainstream porn, where they basically just want to see a dick go in an ass and cum shots and all that fun stuff, I don't know. I
Sides is a smaller group of people. I can guess what kind of porn I watch. Glory holes, blow jobs, hand jobs, and a lot of times I can't get good side porn from the big studios because they have a complete formula anyways. And so you end up watching the amateur stuff, and that's why there's so many hundreds of thousands of us guys just throwing our nice bodies and dicks on the internet because people are willing to pay for it. Get a chunk. I got an OnlyFans. I got a Just for Fans. I'm not stupid.
Yeah. Okay. You got a gay porn producer here. If I were to make something for you, what would it look like?
Oh, okay, like I'm the viewer.
Like,
What would
yeah,
yeah.
you could ask me to do a custom video for you, and the next time I do like a suck video or something, I'll make sure that includes elements of what you said. What would those elements be? You mentioned glory hole, which I think are awesome videos.
Yeah, those are always great, but they're great because it's just pure oral,
Mhm.
and like that's the part of the side that's my jam. Like that is my jam. So like yeah, so it would I like the I'm not gonna name any names because I'll probably get in trouble, but there are a couple groups out there that do like the army guy on the couch getting a blowjob from
Mhm.
the weird dude. There's 1,000 of those, but they're kind of hot because I would like something where you think, very classic, you think the guy is straight or it's his first time,
Okay.
which is stupid, but it's totally hot. Especially if you've done that a couple times. You know, I don't need to see the kissing. I don't care about that. You can throw ass eating in there if you want, but that's not really visually appealing to me.
Yeah, and it's hard to film too.
Yeah. Give a long, slow, edging blowjob, and especially with a lot of edging and milking at the end with some not screaming, squirming, and yeah, that'll
Okay.
work.
All right.
That's the kind I like. That's what I watch, and that's what I fantasize about when I think about really great sets.
What
Just
about
being
what about blow bangs? I'm supposed to do a couple of suck scenes in a couple weeks.
blow.
Like a
What'd you
blow
say?
bang, like one guy, three dicks around him, four dicks.
I think that would probably work really well. It's not really my jam.
Mm.
I don't particularly there's too much going on in the group.
Yeah.
Every time I've done groups myself, I'm like, there's too much happening.
You're overwhelmed.
You and me over here, we'll figure this out ourselves. That's just kind of my own jam.
Okay.
So it's kind of that same way with porn. Like, it's great to see a bunch of hot guys and their wieners, but after a while, they all start looking the same.
Like I said, I'm going to do a couple of suck scenes in a couple of weeks, and I'll keep some traditional, and I'll include some slow sucking and some edging, and I'll make sure to tell you which one it is.
That would be awesome. Yep, I got one more I can tell you that I really like.
Yeah, please.
Guys with toys, but toys that I call top toys. So your fleshlights, your sleeves, your pillows, things like that. I personally just really like watching a guy either get pleasured or pleasuring himself. That's the key. It doesn't have to be, it's not with who they're with or how many things are happening, but watching a hot guy, like literally having kind of genuine moans and groans and stuff. That's fucking hot as shit.
Yeah. I can agree with you on that. Absolutely.
So,
and that military set you were talking about, I'm very well aware of it. Nice guy.
I'm pretty still open one of my Google windows.
I did. Yeah. I'm doing a video on that because there is a whole industry on military men. I had, it's like it's a fetish. It's a big one. A big one on top of that. I had no idea how far back it went and how a lot of those men are really straight. So you that idea of, hoping it's their first time or hoping they're straight, you're getting a great deal of reality when you're watching those videos.
Well, I mean, I don't know about you, but I can list almost all of my gay male friends have had sex with a straight guy at least once.
Oh yeah. No, yeah.
So like you can all think back to how hot that was. And so, then you start, then you can imagine, there's a whole barracks full of men. I can flip one of these fuckers.
Yeah. After a couple beers, everybody, everyone loosens up after a couple.
Yeah, it's my favorite. They put their arm around it. They go, "You're the coolest gay guy I've ever met." Yeah. Always starts like,
yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I have one more thing I want to ask you. This is just the beginning. Like I said, I feel like there's so many more things I'd like to learn, and I'm sure that when listeners do hear this, they will ask, or they'll say, "Oh, why didn't you ask about this?" or "Why didn't you ask about that?" How do you feel about the term sides being, I don't want to say on its way to normalization, because we have established that it's been around for a long time. But how do you feel about it gaining traction now?
I'm glad it's gaining traction here in the United States for, because it's been around for a while in like South America and stuff, and they're a lot clearer about it. They don't call it some euphemism sides. They call it no penetration.
Mhm.
That's what it's called. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's really clear. So I think part of the whole issue here is just that it's a weird term. People don't know what it is. And I think as it normalizes, people will be like, okay, cool, dude. Yeah, I don't really want to do that on the first date anyways, or whatever. I think it'll become a non-thing after it becomes a thing.
Okay. It seems a little hokey, but I always want to know, if you were confronted with somebody who genuinely wanted to know something about how you feel about being a side, what would you say to them?
What I probably want to say is, if you've been focusing on anal sex this whole time, you're nowhere near as good as we are at all the other stuff. Come on over here and I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm sure you could suck a mean cock.
More than one if I need to.
Wow. That is amazing. Okay, so you said you are on Just for Fans. You have an OnlyFans page. Why don't you go ahead and tell us where? You are also open to people contacting you or listeners contacting you if they have any other questions or anything. Correct?
They can send me DMs, follow me on Twitter. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Or in the fan sites is great as well. It's all the same. Otter Zaddy with a X.
So OtterXaddy.
That's right.
Okay. And you're on Twitter, you're on OnlyFans, and you're on Just for Fans. I will put that all in the description when the episode goes up.
That sounds awesome.
Is there anything I missed? Is there anything that you think people have not gotten out of this interview?
I would say the only thing I would say is, if you're on Grindr or you're on one of the other apps and someone has sides and you're looking for a bottom, just give them a call anyways. Give them a text. Give them a woof, because you'd be surprised. Sides can mean something different for a lot of people. And there's a lot to do and a lot of fun to be had without digging the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. True dad. True story. Otter Zaddy, I have to absolutely thank you very much for agreeing to come on and giving me some time and sharing your story and how you feel and telling us a little bit about what it means to be a side. I hope the listeners enjoy this episode, which I think they will. And also, I hope that it's not the end of the conversation. And if I have any other questions at some point, or I can put together a more vast interview and you'd be a part of it, I would love that as well.
No, it was really an honor. I'm glad we could find a time to make it work out. I wasn't going to be having this conversation with my boyfriend's parents in the other room. That wasn't going to.
Yes, I absolutely appreciate you answering while you were on vacation. But we did it. We got it done. This is Demystifying Gay Porn. You can find us on every podcast directory. We are on YouTube. We are on Twitter, TikTok. Demystifying Gay Porn. My name is Ike Grande. Our guest this week has been Otter Zaddy. And if you watch gay porn, I've definitely helped you get off. Cheers.